I'm excited. Today I have with me Chris Coffey for another coffee chat with Chris. Chris and Marshall Goldsmith have been partners now for over 30 years, and you've played such a pivotal role in developing the stakeholder-centered coaching process. Chris is joining us today from his lovely chateau in the southern part of France, and I must say I am a little bit jealous. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Andy, for a very kind introduction. And yes, indeed, I am in the south of France, and I will be here for about 2.5 weeks, and it's lovely. It just shows how we can coach and do these things from anywhere in the world. It's good to see you.
Marshall and you have developed a very simple, very powerful measurement tool that helps leaders and teams figure out how well they're actually doing. And would love for you to share your thoughts on this.
Historically, we've always said that these are the soft skills, and they're tough to measure. And Marshall, Frank Wagner, myself, you, we know that's not true. People form perceptions, perceptions change, and you can measure how people see things differently. And thinking about this, when you asked me to combine both working with individuals and teams, I went through some of my records to think about what would be a very good example. This individual, his fictitious name, we'll call him, Jack Clarkson, because that's what's going to be on the mini survey, was a CFO reporting to the president of a major international medical equipment company. He had some significant issues around trust with his team, as well as with the president that he reported to. The VP of HR was familiar with the stakeholder-centered coaching process and really felt that if this individual was going to be able to turn things around, that was the process that needed to be used. The engagement lasted about 14 months. And one of the things that we're proud of at stakeholder-centered coaching is how we can measure the change and how people see them. So with that, why don't you put up on the screen so the folks can see the mini survey of Jack Clarkson?
So here it is. What we're looking at, folks, is a mini survey for Jack. And just to explain this a little bit, he had two key goals that he was working on. One is building trust, which is right here. And if you look down, the other is to be a more effective collaborator. So the way that this works, this section here is mini survey 1, and this goes out after approximately 4 months. Down here is mini survey 2. This one goes out at approximately 8 months, and down here is the final one, which is approximately a year later. Now, Chris, when I look at this, this is an incredibly powerful tool, and let's just take a look at the outcome, and I'm going to highlight this. So after Jack is working for 4 months on building more trust with approximately 16 of his coworkers, we'll call them stakeholders, you can see that after 4 months, he's beginning to change. Now, some people perceive him as not changing at all. In fact, some people perceive him as going in the other direction. Now, the power of these mini surveys. Now, if you take a look down here at the end of a year engagement, look at the amount of change. It's staggering. Not over 90% of his coworkers, the stakeholders, perceive him as making significant progress on his goal of building trust. How would you like to elaborate on this, Chris?
Well, I think you're spot on. The first mini survey was done at about the 4-month mark. And one of the key processes in stakeholder-centered coaching is the active engagement of stakeholders and the need to follow up with them and ask them if they've noticed the difference. Now, first of all, just to reiterate for people, in this process, the individual you're coaching has to have the courage to tell people what they're working on. And so Jack had to tell these key stakeholders, including the president, that he was working at building trust and collaborating more effectively. He got suggestions from them, and together we built an action plan that he shared with the stakeholders. A lot of companies try to do coaching engagements for about 3 months. And one of my comments is you can stand on your head for 3 months. A lot of trust and a lot of problems have been built up over time with this individual. I would make the case that at about the 3 month mark, a lot of people are saying, well, this is fine. How long is it going to last? And there's also some people, you saw the couple of -3s there, who may never let go of the past. It's been damaged so much that it's almost irreparable. Now, we did the 4 months. I remember saying to Jack, and he was upset because he thought he had really done some significant change. As a result, I said, well, what do you think you need to do more of, less of? Start doing, stop doing. He had a bit of an epiphany. I had told him monthly he had to check in with stakeholders and simply ask them, had they noticed a difference in his collaboration and following through on his action plan? He found that very difficult to do. He felt that people would just notice the changes that he made, and they didn't. And he was upset. He really made a commitment to do that monthly follow-up. Literally, it takes a minute. Walking down the hall, this is an ad hoc meeting. So when people say this takes too much time, that's just a canard. It's just not true. You can do this very efficiently. So as a result, he really had the discipline to follow through. And so back on that, if you put the screen up there again, I'd like to just point out a couple of other things. If you notice, well, let me comment on, if you look at the first mini survey, DR stands for direct reports, P stands for peers, C stands for colleagues, N stands for manager, and in this case, it's the president of the division, and S stands for self. If you notice the evaluation of the president at 4 months, he said, no, I haven't seen any perceptible change. Tom, on the other part, says +2. He really felt he had been doing it. Nobody else, well, one person gave him a +3 and a couple +1s. But now let's jump down to the second one. You can see how it's moved up, and actually the president has given him a +2. +2. Scroll down a little bit. You can see collaborate, the same type of numbers. Same type of numbers and change over pretty much a 14-month period. And then you ask people, to what extent has Jack followed up with you? And you can see the yeses and the nos. But what I want to jump to quickly is the written comments, because they're massive. And I just want to focus on what the president said. Let's stop right there. Take a look at mini survey number 1. Read what the manager has said here. I got to put my glasses on.
Sure. I'm going to highlight. Yeah, let me highlight this. So first mini survey goes out. He's been working on his key goals for 4 months, gets feedback from the CEO, and this is what the CEO said.
Acknowledge this focus, agrees improvement is needed, doing better job with general overall communication. Nice, pretty benign though. Now look at the 8-month mark, second mini survey.
Let me highlight this as well. So this is 8 months later.
8 months into it. Jack has been more proactive in communication, in particular when he falls behind. In the past, he would fall behind and not notify. He has listened more, accepted responsibility for his actions or his team's actions, and only then pointed in other directions. One of Jack's problems at the beginning was he was blaming everybody else. So it's a nice comment here from the president. Now the key one is the third one. This is at about the 13, 14-month mark. The effect and change Jack has made are quite amazing. It has been over a year, and I think they are really a part of how he will continue to lead and manage in the future. Well done.
So, Chris, I have a quick question for you. Obviously this leader, Jack, worked incredibly hard on these 2 goals. 4 months goes by. He's pretty disappointed because his perception the perception of his by others hasn't really changed that much. But after 8 months and then a year later, there's a tremendous shift. I'm wondering, at the very end of this coaching engagement, what did this mean to him personally when he read this and he got all of that incredibly powerful and positive feedback?
That's a great question. This was an individual who knew his job was on the line. And he basically said, not only have you changed my life and how I interact with people, you saved my job. You saved my job. And it's just, from a coaching perspective and as a teacher, that's a powerful endorsement of the process and, what a coach brings to an engagement. So it was just very powerful. And as a result of that, he said, I feel compelled to spread the word and to bring this to my entire team.
So, Chris, I wanted to thank you for your time today. This is just a fascinating topic, using measurement, the power of measurement. And I honestly don't know of any other coaching model out there that measures behavior in a very simple, predictable, proven manner, so you know whether or not people are getting better and you're getting a return on your investment. So with that said, it's been fascinating talking with you again, and I'm looking forward to another coffee chat. Now, you're in France right now, and I know it's 5 o'clock. Where I am, it's close to noon. I'm drinking a cup of coffee. If I were in France, I would probably be enjoying a glass of Merlot, such as you are. And
thank you,
Chris, it's just been a pleasure, and looking forward to talking with you again soon. And I hope you have a wonderful evening in the southern part of France.
Thank you, Andy.